What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, let's start with another preview of this weekend's Flex Pro weekend. We've got updates at 2 days out from the two guys that I think are going to be the top two at this show, and that is Behrooz, Tabani, and Nathan Asha. We're going to start with Behrooz, Tabani because we haven't talked about a recent update from him yet this week, but we got one today at 2 days out, and when I saw this update, I think he does look tighter. I think significantly tighter than Nathan looks. Now, obviously, Behrooz did just compete last weekend at the M Pro Classic in Spain. Nathan did not, so that's probably the biggest contributing factor to that. But I think Behrooz looks really sharp, really crisp, really dry in this update, and conditioning is one of his strong points, as well as the aesthetics that he has to his physique. I think, when it comes down to Behrooz versus William Bonac, I think one of the reasons why so many people were rooting for Behrooz is, one, he's got that Iranian fan base that's just rabid fans of his. But two, is he's got such an aesthetic physique. He's got such a good taper and such a small waist. And I think Bonac kind of represents a lot of the opposite of that. But it is open bodybuilding. It's not classic physique. So I think that comparison between Behrooz and Bonac, a lot of people were rooting for the much more aesthetic guy in Behrooz. So those are kind of his strengths. He's very aesthetic, he's got a nice flow to his physique, and he comes in really good condition. And I wish we could say for sure that either one of these two guys is going to be able to make it to the Olympia. Nathan's preclusion from being able to come over and compete in the States are his legal issues. That's what is preventing him from coming to do the Olympia. With Behrooz, it's the visa. It's the fact that he's coming from Iran. And if you guys have been paying any attention to the news, you guys know that tensions now are pretty bad with Iran. Probably significantly worse than last year when Behrooz wasn't able to compete, or the year prior. So frankly, it really doesn't look likely that either Nathan or Behrooz are going to be able to compete at the Olympia if they win this show and qualify, which is what makes this such an interesting matchup, because I really do think it's going to be one of these two guys that wins the show. I really do think we're going to see a top two call-out of Nathan and Behrooz. And I kind of feel like we might even see a better conditioned version of Behrooz than we saw in Spain, just based on this update. I think we got an update of him either 2 or 3 days out of Spain, and I think he looks a lot crisper here than he did in that Spain update. But in addition to Behrooz, we also did get an update from Nathan Asha today. And this was so both these were at 2 days out from the show. These were much more HD pictures than what we saw from the video that I showed you guys yesterday. These are up-close, HD, posing for his coach, Stefan. We've touched on that. He's working with Boss of Outlaw. I don't know how many times I need to say. The guy is a great coach. He's had a great track record. But that's who he's working with. But I noticed in these HD pictures, I thought he looked grainier and harder in the more pixelated video that wasn't as clear. Maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the camera quality, maybe it's a combination of the two, but I felt like in these HD pictures, Nathan didn't look as crisp, and I think he certainly doesn't look as crisp as Behrooz does. Now, particularly, I think this when you look at the back poses of Nathan. If you look at his glutes and hamstrings, you don't see deep separations. You don't see those deep corded lines in the hamstrings. You see almost no striation in the glutes. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's the lighting or the angle, but you really don't see a crazy level of detail, particularly in the lower body with Nathan from the back. And there's even this side shot where he's posing with his coach, and if you look at him from the side, you can see those skin folds, those wrinkles in the lower back, and you can also see skin folds, wrinkles in the glutes. That's where he's holding water. And I kind of almost wonder if this is kind of a warm-up show for Nathan, just the first show of the season that he's planning on doing, because I would imagine with all these shows coming up, including shows like the Mr. Big Evolution, there's a lot of shows that are out of the country coming up. The Dubai show, I heard Nathan's doing that one. I kind of wonder how seriously he's taking this show. And I know that, no bodybuilder is ever going to refer to a show necessarily as a warm-up show, like they didn't actually try to peak for it, like they didn't actually prep for it. But I kind of wonder with shows like that, like Dubai coming up or the Mr. Big Evolution, if this is just kind of Nathan kicking things off, because honestly, when you look at the condition that Behrooz is in, Nathan just does not look to be in that same shape. But on the other hand, like I mentioned, Stefan is a great coach, so I have a hard time thinking it's going to be like Nathan's just going to show up totally out of shape. But I'll admit, I do think it's a little sad that likely neither of those two guys would be able to go to the Olympia if they win. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think either of these guys would be the winner of the show, or do you think maybe Christian Wolski? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, I actually spoke to Michael Krizo yesterday, and he gave me a little bit more insight into what's going on with his injury and him not competing. So he said, "Hi, I must go on laparoscopy surgery, right shoulder I have a problem with for 2 years, but no, it's very I think he's trying to say it's very painful." His English isn't the best, so bear with me. Then he says, "I can't train good or pose good, and I take a lot of pills for pain, and I can't eat good. I have a fever, and I have aversion to food. It'll take me a few weeks." And then he says, "I want to compete in the Arnold Classic." So, like I said, not the easiest to understand, not the best English or the best translation, but I do know that a lot of people were commenting about his posing, saying he needs help with his posing, he's very shaky, he wasn't holding his posing very long. So this is kind of the explanation for that, is this shoulder injury that he apparently has had for 2 years, if I'm understanding that message correctly. So I don't know if this means we'll no longer see him at the Prague Pro in November, or if he's saying here he's going to wait until the Arnold in March, which I guess would probably make sense. He probably wants to fully recover from the shoulder surgery, but that's the update on Michael Krizo and why we're not seeing him compete in this coming weekend's Flex Pro, and it looks like also not the Mr. Big Evolution in like 2.5 weeks. But speaking of the Mr. Big Evolution show, the Classic Physique division has some excitement there, because one of the guys that a lot of people have been waiting to see return to the stage is Stefan Matala, a.k.a. Stefan NFC. And these recent updates that he's been sharing, he looks gigantic. I don't know how he makes weight in Classic Physique, which is kind of interesting because that's really one of the same things that people say about Ramon Dino, and they compare him and Ramon all the time, saying he's the French Ramon Dino. There are a lot of similarities to their physiques, and when they're not competing, they look like they're almost too big for Classic. I mean, he looks huge in these pictures. So he's just a few weeks out here, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to this return, because you guys might remember that he was qualified for last year's Olympia, but at the last minute he was unable to compete because he had a family member with health issues, and he decided to take care of them instead of competing at the Olympia. But that's been resolved. He's back to competing. He's trying to qualify and get to the Olympia in 2024. And he's really, really impressive. And he at least proved last year that he's not just hype. He doesn't just look good on social media, even though I think he looked a lot better in his Instagram pictures than he did when he qualified for the Olympia by winning that show. But I think he still looked really good, and he still proved, I can win a show, I can get to the Olympia. Now we just want to see, A, I guess, can you do it again? And B, how do you look against the best Classic Physique guys in the world? Because in these pictures, he looks absolutely world class. I don't think anybody would argue with that. But does it translate to the Olympia stage? I think is the question that we all want answered. But this is definitely one Classic Physique show I'm very excited to watch. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, click the bell notification icon if you have not already, and as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.